welcome to HGC Korea Phase 2, Week 3, Day number 1. We're here, and my name's G Clef, and today, no Wolf actually. Welcome Rally Jaffa to the desk. How are you doing, Rally?
Well, it's a massive honor to be here talking about my favorite game, my favorite players in my favorite region, and we've come quite a way, G Clef. Like last time we cast together, it was exactly 1 year ago in Power League Season 2, and back then, Korea was the best region in the world, and we were casting the second division.
You just have to bring that up from the beginning.
Yeah, but like today we're casting the top division in Korea, but now we're the second best region in the world. So we didn't really come a long way. But anyway, tonight's matches should be pretty great.
Yeah, that's right. We have both MVP teams waiting for us today, and of course, Rally here will bring us the deep analysis. I'm expecting a lot from you, Rally.
I'm not going to analyze. I'm just going to meme the hell out of you on the cast.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be right. So as you guys know, the meta has been similar with the Mouth Ale patch, but today it's a different patch with the balanced patch 26.1. So there are lots of small nerfs and little buffs for a lot of characters and heroes. We're going to see that during the draft, and we'll explain a little bit more about the meta shift. There seems to be a little bit of a meta shift even in Korea, and maybe for the other regions we're going to have all the games in the upcoming day today.
Definitely. I mean, it's pretty accepted by now that Europe is like completely ahead of all the other regions in terms of the metagame, but Korea has been seeing a lot of interesting little developments as well, such as the Cho'Gall explosion that we saw last week, which I was so intrigued by that I wrote an article about it. It's probably going to go up on the Heroes Esports website next week.
Oh,
but yeah,
that's
like
nice.
if we ever get to see Cho'Gall today, and there might be a chance since Raven used it last week, although they were the only team to lose with it, but yeah.
Yeah, that drafting, I still remember. It was not the best draft we've ever seen with the Cho'Gall. I'm sure you will be very critical as today, but here's the overview. As usual, it's the same double round robin with part number 1 and 2. Will be same and exactly the same prize pool. Of course, we can continue talking about Korea especially though.
Yeah.
Just in Korea, we had so many Cho'Galls, at least once a day Cho'Gall for Korea.
Yeah.
Why do you think Cho'Gall came up so highly?
Like I talked to a lot of pro players and also some Korean commentators about this, and they really seem to think that the centerpiece in the rise of Cho'Gall is Ario. But the problem is that, you know, Ario, like all of the pro players, so I talked to Hong Kano, I talked to O Prime, I talked to Dudu, which is from Team Blossom, which is the team that used the Cho'Gall most effectively
against Black, and they won a map.
Yeah, that was amazing. So they all said that Ario was so strong right now that anyone that can pair well with Ario is also strong, and that happens to be Cho'Gall. And I can sort of understand that, but if we look at the win rates for Ario right now, it's like 52% in KR, 51% in EU, so it definitely seems like Ario isn't exactly that overpowered. So maybe they're overrating Ario a bit and slightly underplaying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the power, the speaking level we were talking about. The support war has been real with the upcoming meta shift, and Uther has been on top. But on this patch, especially with the Guardian of Ancient Kings nerfed from 75 to 50, I think that's going to be a big effect coming out for Uther. So I don't think Uther will be S tier anymore, but he will still be in the A tier section of supports though.
Yeah, now we're looking at the NA and EU standings, and I got to say, since the mid-season brawl, I've been paying much more attention to those Western regions.
Yep. And here's the standing for Korea, of course. Tempest right now on top, but actually Mighty has a very big chance, and Blossom taking a map of Black, standing on 4th, and they placed 7th last time. But L5 and Black both really making their way up in the standings, and of course MVP Black, from what we saw on Sunday, they look super strong, which they're gonna be playing match 2 today.
Yeah, like their huge win over L5. A lot of confidence gained for MVP Black, a lot of confidence lost for L5 obviously, but how they perform against RR today won't be very meaningful, but it will be meaningful in the sense that MVP Black is going to play against Mighty tomorrow, who is undefeated in the league. And today, what they pull out against RR should be sort of a lot of signaling will be going on because Mighty will be definitely watching today's match too. And what signals are they going to send? We will have to find out.
Yeah, that's going to be the key point today, I guess. And also both MVP teams, as I mentioned before, will be playing. Also Raven, it will be very tough for Raven and both RRR to go against both MVP teams. Raven seems to be struggling a lot on the macro play, which MVP Miracle has been superb on, especially on Cursed Hollow. Actually, both MVP teams, they seem to be going towards the same direction as they're both MVP. They do have the same coach.
Yeah, I mean, although their coach itself does not offer a lot of tactical direction, like they live in the same house, they scream against each other every day, and they're bound to have some idea of a shared metagame. But now we see MVP Miracle in the booth.
Yep, here comes MVP Miracle. The crazy moving on the screen, and the old TNL is back with Jaehyun coming into the team as the new support. As you can see, and Dami, without Honkono, seems to be doing very fine, especially with the coming of Sonya sometimes, even when they need to have him on the pick. And Judy seems to be doing okay, but sometimes it seems like his hero pool with ETC, which has been nerfed super hard, seems to be causing him a lot of problems right now.
Yeah, I mean, Judy has done an admirable job of filling in for Honkono, and I definitely respect his level of play when he came into the team, but I don't think he has done the best job of, picking up the best meta heroes right away. But now we see Sniper on the screen, and I have some beef against Sniper for picking 10 heroes in 11 games. I mean, it's one thing to be very flexible and have a large hero pool, but when you're playing 10 heroes in 11 games while you're losing more than half of them, then that signals a problem. It's sort of similar to what we saw with Blossom in Phase 1, because Blossom had no team identity. They couldn't figure out what they were best at, so they responded to it by picking everything instead of picking one strategy and sticking with it, and I think that's what's going on with MVP Miracle.
Yep, but after a season, they seem to be doing a little bit better. And here comes Raven on the other side, all in red, and they seem to be having... And Darvish, of course, the new roster with the pink keyboard. That's the key. Pink, guys.
That looks
That's
like a
the
nice
manly
keyboard,
color
though.
you want.
Well, they look a lot more serious than they usually do in the booth today, so maybe they are going into this match with something to prove, unlike usual. And, MVP Miracle versus Raven, everyone is going to expect a 3-0. I think most people will, or maybe a 3-1. But Raven and MVP Miracle will be going into this match with so much momentum, in desperate need of momentum, because both of them aren't having the greatest start to their seasons, and both of them are relatively weak at this point in the league, so they are each other's stepping stones, and the one who wins today will turn their seasons around.
Of course, both of these teams seems to be the middle ground of maybe Raven even falling below, back to 8th, which they placed last season. So, but here's the Darvish, the ex-MVP Miracle player on the other side now, going against his former team. That's gonna feel somewhat weird, right?
Yeah, definitely. Darvish wasn't the happiest on MVP Miracle, to say the least. I mean, he was sort of shifted into the support role back when MVP Miracle was first formed, and everyone expected that since Darvish was such a flexible player, he would have no problem slotting into a new position, but that really did not happen. After a whole year, Darvish was still unable to keep up on par with the top supports such as Hyde and Meriday, RIP, and Swoy. So he is now back in his original all-rounder position, but he has not impressed since.
Yes, and he also, since his changed his role also into the team, and hold on to that, and let's take a look at the battleground. Actually, Warhead Junction open once more. It is Braxis banned by MVP Miracle and Raven. Surprisingly this time, they banned Dragonshire, and of course Miracle is going to go into Cursed Hollow.
Yeah, Cursed Hollow is MVP Miracle's best map. Well, not by far, but it is clearly their best map. They have the highest win rate on this map at 64%, and we can definitely expect MVP Miracle to go into this map with the best idea of what to do, unlike on some of their other maps, which they are terribly weak on, but we will touch upon that later. And also, regarding Cursed Hollow, an interesting fact is that Raven is, out of all the maps that are in the HGC map pool right now, Cursed Hollow is the only map in which Raven took more than one win. They won 2 games out of 15. So it's Raven's best map too.
Yeah, that seems to be the way. And Illidan banned from the beginning. Of course, they also play Asmodan, I believe once or even twice on this map, at which they failed both times. Let's see if they bring out that Asmo dunk once more.
Hopefully, if MVP Miracle decide to pull out the Abathur, then we could definitely see Dion on Asmodan again, because he seems to believe, and his team seems to agree with him, that it's a pretty decent counter to Abathur, which I am only somewhat convinced, but they take the Abathur instead.
Okay, they do want to pressure the later ones, and they have the global pressure also. See, when Illidan and Genji is already banned, let's see which other DPS they actually take with Avatar to stronger the hero. Maybe even Tracer. They're thinking about Tracer. We saw lots of Tracer Avatar combination coming out from Korea, not just from Raven, but also from other teams.
It could definitely be possible, since Hamelin is a pretty decent Zeratul player, all things considered, and it's Zeratul Abathur is a pretty potent duo on this map. But what will we see from MVP Miracle? We could definitely see something like the very standard, Anubarak Uther being picked up, but we could also see something like Tassadar Vala or Vala Ariel. What do you think?
I think Ariel is just way too highly valued from most of the Korean teams right now. And not just Korean region, other regions also. We saw lots of China using Ariel just within the last few weeks too. Uther has stepped down a little bit with the nerf to it. Ooh, they want to hide their DPS and bring Ariel with Stitches to pair up with the CC.
I think this is a decent idea, but I'm somewhat unsure or why they're not going with the super standard Stitches Malfurion, because I sort of get that you maybe don't want to give over, let Raven have Ariel as well, but so much of the power of having Stitches on your team is when you have a reliable CC chain such as what Malfurion can provide, and if they weren't going to go with the Stitches Kel'Thas pick or something, then I would have liked to see Malfurion a bit more, but I guess it somewhat makes sense because Jaehyun has been shying away from his longtime favorite Malfurion. He has picked it only once this season, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's right. Especially after the nerf, he really stepped away from Malfurion and went towards Ariel and Uther. I think this is hinting, as you mentioned, Kel'Thas a lot, but this seems like a bait to me almost because they intentionally did not pick up. So there's Vala stolen away actually from Raven. I don't think Miracle was even considering Vala at all here.
Yeah, definitely. If they wanted to really play Vala, then I don't think they necessarily had to take Stitches so early, so definitely makes sense. I mean, I like the Zeratul ban coming out of MVP Miracle. It was somewhat standard, seeing as how Zeratul Abathur is so strong on this map, and we'll have to see what Raven's second ban will be. Cassia.
Cassia, that's interesting. I think Raven might have actually sniped on the perfect hole here. Miracle may have been considering Cassia since they did play lots of Cassia. Compared to other Korean teams, they were actually the team that preferred Cassia over lots of other DPS when Vala is also away from them. Maybe with this snipe, I think Miracle, maybe they need to go considering with plan B or even plan C here.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with how Raven is handling the draft process so far. I mean, I haven't ranted about it loud on Twitter or anything, but I've been very critical of what Raven were doing in drafts for most of the season, but today they're quite on point. I like it.
And also to follow up with the global, as I was expecting Dehaka to come up anytime soon, and they will actually grab him right before the last rotation. Picking up Lunara as their DPS seems to be, they're going towards lots of damage, constant damage, so I think the last pick could be just Kel'Thas to bringing the burst damage with the lane clear. I think that's a very solid draft coming out from Miracle, but in terms of Raven right now, they need solid tanks. Anubarak is still open.
That's definitely true, and if Raven wants to go the full Chinese route here of making Vala a hyper carry, I can definitely see them taking some kind of shield hero such as, I don't know, Tassadar, Zarya, maybe even Tyrael, then pairing it up with a standard main tank. But they decide to pick Diablo.
One of the favorite tanks from Dion.
Yep, and he has been performing pretty decently, I would say. And their last pick is going to be Tassadar. So, yeah, they're going the full Chinese route. But I can expect that Abathur Symbiote with the Adrenaline upgrade will stay on top of Vala's head for most of the game.
Okay, with Tassadar, of course, there were some nerfs to Tassadar actually in this patch too, but Diablo sticking with his comfort pick when Anubarak just goes past this trap, it's just unheard of at this moment. And double support!
Yeah, this was pretty expected right when they picked Lunara, because Lunara without some kind of shield such as Tassadar or Zarya does not really function too well, although I could have seen them just going with the solo Ariel against Raven because their comp isn't too fit for diving the Lunara right away, but I definitely like the double support pick here.
Yeah, that will be the complete draft. Both teams actually bringing a lot of heroes. Double support. Let's see, as we go into Cursed Hollows, if it's MVP Miracle or Raven stepping into the first game. In blue, MVP Miracle. Judy on Stitches, Dami on Dehaka, Jaehyun on Rehgar, Crazy Moving on Lunara, and Sniper on Ariel.
And on the side of Raven, we see Darvish on Abathur, Hamelin on Vala, NMX on Tassadar, Diong on Diablo, and Chom on Uther.
Alright, this is all in team fighting with some globals on both sides. It's all in Lunara versus all in Vala.
Yeah, it's
of course, Lunara came out a lot of the time since the Eastern Clash as the counter to Vala. So I think Miracle will have a likely better time, and I like the draft style of Miracle a little bit more too.
We are going to see a fort switch here going on the side of, well, top and bottom. Top for MVP Miracle, bottom for Raven. And generally speaking, MVP Miracle is the side that has a Diaka, Raven is the side that has an Abathur. And I think generally in terms of how you move out and soak experience across the map after both forts has fallen, I think Raven would benefit slightly more, because generally when I'm playing Abathur, I liked my lanes pushed in and lanes to have a lot of empty space between the bushes. Because, you know, when you're playing as an Abathur against a Dehaka, you have to always be wary of the bushes, but if you don't have a fort and the lane is really long and there aren't a lot of bushes in the area where the fort is destroyed, right? So I definitely think Raven will benefit slightly more from this fort trade.
That's right, they're going all in. They want to bring Miracle to their lane, and they're going all in with the shield and lots of supports extra available. So instead, Miracle actually dodges that and keeps Ariel on top, so for some reason. That's a bit weird for me right now.
Well, technically, they could have placed a Rehgar, or they could have placed the Ariel there, and it doesn't really make too much sense either way.
Yeah, see, if this is gladly for Sniper, it's only Diong, but if it was with Vala or some other pair, I think that could have been a kill. So I was actually very surprised that Ariel stayed on top solo, pushing all the lane.
Definitely. Raven could have been a bit more crisp in rotating to the top lane, but not too much harm done, and now both teams are taking their siege camps. This is a small gripe of mine, but I really dislike how Cursed Hollow, so much of the early game is RNG, because like how the first tribute spawns at either top or bottom, it's so advantageous to one certain side once both teams decide to take their siege camps.
It's all skills coming out from both teams when we talk about RNG. Well, lots of respect in a way going on right now with B steps coming out from Judy and Diong, knowing that both of them can't really get a kill for each other. So they're just going to clear waves right now, and top tribute's going to happen. And Ariel seems to be already on top, making a huge rotation. Dehaka, Abathur, of course, staying on the bottom lane for now.
Dehaka always has the trigger when it comes to Dehaka, Abathur on each side, and both teams are tussling around the tribute, but Raven decide to not contest the first tribute at all, and Miracle gets it for free.
Yep, they were really contesting at all. They had the better positioning early on with Ariel keeping on the other side. Raven seemed to be a little bit late towards a tribute too. So Miracle Dami didn't even have to use the brush talk to join it for teamfight. He will soak this lane free. Now they have the lead in EXP too.
Definitely, but Raven hasn't fallen too far behind, so they will be okay with the result for now. Both teams... Oh, wow. Now Raven decided to entirely forego their bruiser camp and instead decide to move on to MVP Miracles.
And there goes Jaeyoung taking the wrong side of the map. Hamlin steps right in. There's a drag onto Diyoung, but Diablo will take a lot of the tanks in the front line, actually keeping the camps alive. Judy steps in, and Ariel healing is really coming in for MVP Miracle's side. But
MVP Miracle is going to win this.
Yep. Actually, the camp is lost for Raven's side.
I thought they could have stayed on the camp for much longer.
Yes, I think they could have, but I saw the mana. Mana was a little bit low, and they lost Lunara. That's the thing. Their main DPS, the damage was lost, and then maybe they called it out, saying, we have no damage, let's just back out. We don't have to rush or risk too much here.
I mean, technically speaking, like, losing that bruiser camp in itself doesn't really matter that much since they won the team fight in essence because they took down 2 members, lost 2 members, but when it's Abathur against Yaka, it doesn't really matter that much. And taking the second tribute means much more than taking that bruiser camp, simply because when you're playing Abathur on Cursed Hollow, the #1 priority of your team that has Abathur is to not lose 2 tributes before hitting level 10. That's the worst situation you can get yourself into. And MVP Miracle knew that as long as they could secure 2 tributes before the level 10 mark, they would be in an advantageous position. So all in all, I think that was a smart, low-risk play from MVP Miracle to back off.
And also very favorable one actually coming out from Raven, because they took the entire camp from not losing too much, also keeping Hamlin survival, getting that. I don't think we've ever seen Raven being that aggressive in this season yet. And I think with these comfort picks, maybe they can win off a map of MVP Miracle and still anyone's game right now.
Yeah, and on the screen, that was exactly what I was saying. Like, if you trade forts like that, then Abathur gets a whole swath in which he can just soak without worrying too much about Dehaka. So Abathur was soaking for free down at the top lane. But the third tribute spawns, and Raven has a slight experience lead, but MVP Miracle are a body up.
Yeah, they will want to fight before 10, of course. Diyoung makes a charge in, grab onto Lunara, but the heal is coming back for all the crazy moving to do the damage. Tastar has to shift away, but Hamlin steps right in. Shield is enough for him to survive for the moment, but compared to all the health bars of Miracle, they have to back off.
Oh, and Tassadar is going to fall. He doesn't have phase shift.
Yeah.
Oh, dimensional shift. Anyway, some kind of shift.
There was a shift, and it's now cursed onto Raven's side. Dami actually comes out from the other side, gets a drag onto Diablo once more. And Chom is already running away, so no healing coming out for Diablo. Poor Murky, the giant Murky.
The red Murky. And this is the worst situation that Raven can be in, exactly as we had talked about. They lost 2 tributes with an Abathur before level 10, and being a body down, they couldn't really afford to stick it out on the 3rd tribute for too long. And now, by the end of the tribute, it can be expected that MVP Miracle will have moved at least a whole level ahead and probably a whole level and a half.
Yep, and with that, Lunara actually takes leap instead. It's just throwing lots of protection for Lunara. I don't think Lunara will fall anytime soon unless Crazy Moving gets super picked and burst damage with all the damage, and CC followed up perfectly. Maybe that won't even be enough because of the so much protections coming out from Miracle's side.
Yeah, I can't wait to see a proper post-level 10 5v5 coming out from both teams, because both teams have so teamfight-centric compositions, and it's going to be a joy to see them brawl it out, especially... Oh, but the action starts.
There's a Hamlin. APOC actually misses because of the cleanse. Diyoung is now getting all the damage. Actually, isolation from Dami. Bala cannot escape from that Uther. Bala dead. Raven without any damage right now. They can't do anything.
Vala didn't get to use both stats of Rain of Vengeance. Uther didn't get to use Divine Shield. All in all, absolutely terrible team fights. The decision was sort of okay, but the cleanse was perfect, and in all honesty, I mean, De Jong should have expected the cleanse to be that perfect. It was a very easy cleanse after all.
And also lots of Chinese team, one of the main reasons why they started going for the double support is because they loved Vala so much, which pairs up perfectly with Auriel. But Auriel does not have cleanse, so why don't we just bring in the double support and have cleanse? That was the main reason why Chinese started to use double support, but here comes the action and De Jong gets caught in the beginning. Oh no, this is disastrous. Divine Shield actually onto Diablo, but this means no protection for Vala, means no damage also.
Doesn't even get the wall stun off, and De Jong will fall yet again. Lost in the tangles of the opposition team.
Oh
and
my.
Tassador gets picked off as well, so it's at least 2 down for Raven.
And De Jong I don't think he has enough souls to actually, maybe just does. 3 seconds.
Dami with the slight BM there, deciding not to auto-attack at the end. That was a bit funny.
Yep, and starting from the 5v5 real team fight that you mentioned, Raven seems to be lacking a lot of the focusing and positioning on mistakes when Miracle actually has the upper hand. And of course having the extra range of Lunara compared to Vala is helping so much for Crazy moving right now.
What do you think of this decision by MVP Miracle to just contest the tribute instead of like sending over the boss?
Well, I think they have the 13th talent, and of course they've been winning the team fight. I think this is a very good way. And there's a hook onto Hamel in perfect way actually. Burst heal comes out for a Muther, but now the focusing is onto De Jong, and if De Jong backs out, there's no tank in the front line. Actually, Crazy moving steps all the way in.
And another great cleanse coming out from Rehgar. And again, this looks to be a lost team fight for Raven, even though the tongue message, it doesn't really matter because so much sustain is coming out from the side of MVP Miracle, and Raven was not only a talent tier down, but was in a better position at the start of the team fight as well.
Yeah, that's right, and Crazy moving seems to be, there is nothing at the moment that he's scared of. He's just stepping in, leaping all the enemies into his own choke point. And he knows that he's going to get the kill. It seems like Raven is having a very, very bad time with these team fights.
Yeah, the game is solidly in the hands of MVP Miracle now, but I just want to make a random observation there about the hook, because Judy landed a perfect hook onto Vala, and that should have been essentially the end of the team fight right there, but simply because MVP Miracle didn't really have anything to chain CC with the hook, Vala got sort of off for free, although MVP Miracle won the team fight, so there was the problem that we were talking about in the draft.
Yeah, also Dami picking isolation, I think it's helping a lot. When De Jong comes in, when Lunara seems to be in danger, just isolation onto Diablo and limit his ability. And also if Vala seems to be doing a lot of free damage and Dami goes in all the time and isolation onto Vala every single time. Not just that, the Miracle entire positioning and the sustain is so much real. And Vala auto attack when you have Tastar shield, but the burst heal is just not enough when the healing is always going towards that Diablo. When the healing is on cooldown, Vala will only have the shield. When that's gone, I think Vala will be endangered. So I think that's the really hard part that Raven is having right now.
And Raven making the somewhat interesting decision to not take a team fight before MVP Miracle hits the level 16 mark, so they are in effect powerless to contest this tribute as well. And this again puts them at the precarious 2-0 tribute score.
And that's going to be another curse very soon. Of course, Miracle just easy boss. They think, oh, let's just do whatever we want to. How about we just get the boss because it's right next to us? I think that's the feeling that I'm getting right now with Miracle. As Raven is, even with Avatar, they're having a very tough time following up with the macro right now.
Definitely, and it's difficult to think of what Raven can really do to take back the game into their hands, and the only thing I can realistically see is getting a perfect pick off with 4th Wall and Diablo charging in and Uther chain CCing with the Sun and Reign of Vengeance, and starting a 5 versus 4 team fight like that, but Raven are showing no interest in making those kinds of plays whatsoever. It seems like as soon as they lost a massive fight over the 0-0 tribute up on the top side of the map, they lost all will to make plays. And they're going in for a flank on this one, but it's not going to be effective. Yeah,
not even a chance is what Sniper is saying right now. De Jong steps in, just throws over a sniper, but he is in the danger zone right now. Hamlin does tons of damage, but not enough actually. Boss is already pushing, and this last tribute for the curse, Dami will take it and join the team fight whenever he wants to.
This has a huge chance to be game, although MVP Miracle as a team are known for taking games in slow, methodical fashion, so maybe if they're feeling extra conservative, they might not be willing to all in on the core, but they probably want to, and they're doing it right now.
Yeah, this is the last chance. Judy stepping in from the other side. Actually, APOC misses on the entire team. That's the APOC that we wanted to see, and the sustain is crazy. He's even healing, and he's holding on to those hopes, so looking for the perfect timing to heal multiple targets of his teammates.
It's a bit disappointing to think that this was the best team fight positioning that Raven had throughout this entire game, and when they had to have it was rather unlucky. Like, they had the best team fight in the game right as when they were losing it.
And that's going to be a game with the core down. MVP Miracle taking the lead on Kuretalo. 1-0 already. Seems like MVP Miracle is having their game today.
Yeah, definitely. This is the result that most people would have expected, that we expected, and probably Crazy Moving expected that as well. That's why he wasn't smiling that much even after such a commanding victory.
Yeah, when he makes a huge comeback in the game, he makes a huge smile and grin on his face, of course. But Raven, it feels like MVP Miracle studied, of course, because they've been known as a team. They focus on team fight most of the time. They don't really take global. They don't really take the Hawk up. Maybe just once in this season, or once or twice, barely, to catch up with the global when there were actually like Falstad and Avatar on the other side. And they decide, okay, we will be out macroed so hard, so at least we have to bring the Hawk up. But for now, they've been sticking with the team fight. And even with this team fight, because Miracle knows that they will win if they have the sustain, they bring double support and they win just like that.
I think it's pretty fair to say that MVP Miracle had the right approach in the draft and also had the much easier composition to execute, because as all the professional players from Europe are saying and complaining about, double support has a rather low skill cap. It makes everything a bit more easy, mistakes a bit more lenient. So Raven with the much harder composition, you mean like Abathur on Cursed Hollow, it's very powerful, but it takes a lot of finesse. And Raven looked like they had it for the first several minutes of the game, but eventually it ended up not working.
Yeah, those supports on both sides, but of course Uther and Tassadar, there's a long cooldown to both of their Qs. When talking about Rehgar and Auriel, especially Auriel, that's why Auriel is such a top hero right now with the sustain, but also Rehgar does get the healing, and also Ancestral brings everyone back to life. So I think in terms of sustain, just by the support fight, I thought Miracle won.